So this construct here makes a distinction between coordination and cooperation. Coordination, the example used is, for example, just driving on some side of the road. In the US, it's on the left, and in the UK, it's on the right. And everybody sticks to it, because if you don't, then obviously you're going to get into an accident. But cooperation is much more complicated. It needs strategies and incentives and goals and co-benefits and well-defined timely benefits and so on and so forth. So before we go into coordination, cooperation, and collaboration, let's remind ourselves that the negotiations have been going on for, let's say, at least 25 years, almost 30 years, and the sign of any action is not visible in the dominant greenhouse gas CO2, and even methane and N2O and so on are increasing. CFCs decreasing because of the Montreal Protocol, a good example of cooperation and collaboration. And HFCs are increasing because the alternatives for HFCs haven't taken effect at scale. So everything is still heavily relying on HFCs. To add a little bit more detail, the emissions since 1990, if we go historically back to the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, we get slightly different picture. But China now, second, actually leads the United States. This was started since about few years. So this is 2019 data. And then there are a bunch of other countries, so European countries, Australia, Brazil, India should be here. Considered third largest emitter by some framework, but the European countries are, I think, play a little trick. They want to be financially, monetarily be a union, but when it comes to counting greenhouse gases, they want to do it separately. Like Germany is here, UK is over there, and France will be somewhere. France is here. So why count separately? So European Union should be a good emitter, a big emitter as well. Okay, so here are the four basic structures which talk about the prospects and strategies for coordination and cooperation. Okay, the phase space here has agreements that are not self-enforcing, so cooperation is required for collaboration to evolve, and agreements that are self-enforcing, so coordination is enough to make the collaboration be effective. And the other two axes are potential, or other two quadrants. Potential joint gains are high and potential joint gains are low. Okay, so you can have agreements that are not self-reinforcing, but potential joint gains can be high. And you can imagine that if the agreements are not self-enforcing and the potential joint gains are low, then that's not going to be a good scenario. So the outcomes you expect: possible cooperation with high rewards, but with the danger of defection that rise with the depth of cooperation, because the agreements are not self-enforcing. Okay, so you do something and the benefits are high, and it makes you do more of this cooperation. So if the cooperation gets pretty deep, then the danger of defection increases here. If, on the other hand, potential joint gains are low and the agreements are not self-enforcing, then there is little incentive to seek to cooperate, although shallowness of cooperation limits dangers of defection. So cooperation is easy, so people don't have to defect. If cooperation gets very deep, then there is problems, right, in this side here. So when agreements are self-enforcing, likely coordination with limited but realizable gains, often leaving potential gains on the table, which means there are so many gains that people don't take an extra step to pick up additional gains. Okay, so coordination will be quick, and there will be realizable gains which are limited, but they are obvious. And to achieve additional potential gains, you'll have to do more coordination, which leaves some co-benefits on the table. I shouldn't use co-benefits, but nonetheless. Easy coordination. So if the potential joint gains are low and the agreement is somehow self-enforcing, then easy coordination limited by the low level of potential gains. So you say, okay, let's coordinate, but potential gains are low and there is something in the agreement that makes you do it. Okay, the example I think we will see is the one of tariffs on exports and imports, which made the World Trade Organization a successful entity across the globe. Okay, so effective action on mitigation of climate change requires policies and institutions that reduce temptation to defect. So everybody's at the table negotiating, but if the agreements are and the potential gains are aligned in the quadrant in such a way that defections are high, then you need policies and institutions that ensure that defections are low and the temptations are removed. A sense of global political challenge in addressing climate change is the creation, implementation, and maintenance of such policies and institutions. Okay? The idea of leadership making this happen comes from GATT and World Trade Organization. I think GATT was the original, we will see that in a minute, global agreement on trade and tariffs or something. Then it became World Trade Organization. It's an example where reducing tariffs is a strong incentive for all. Montreal Protocol also had high benefits for US, Europe, and Japan, and the benefits were so high, the dangers associated with the ozone hole, damage done by the CFCs to the ozone hole were so high that they paid most of the costs, so the other countries benefited without having to contribute. Okay. Many initiatives announced in Paris, such as on innovation, protection of forests, and regulation of potent short-lived climate pollutants, can also be seen as examples of easy coordination. Okay, so when such easy but shallow coordination is unsatisfactory to participants, they have incentives to press for deeper cooperation. So if the co-benefits are there, coordination is easy, but it's not accomplishing enough, then the motivation to deepen the cooperation is built in. Here, as elsewhere, cooperation derives not from harmony, not that you all agree and it's a kumbaya, but from discovering areas of discord where additional collaboration, moving up and to the left on table 10.2.1, would provide additional gains. Okay, so you want to move here where possible cooperation with high rewards exists. Dangers of defection can be and should be taken care of by policies and institutions. So Kyoto Protocol was here. The potential joint gains were low. There was no self-enforcing in the agreement and little incentive to seek to cooperate. And there were some shallow cooperations, let's say at EU level, between China and the US and so on. But again, remembering that the emissions haven't dropped, obviously that's not a success story. Okay, so this sounds a little bit complicated, but these are kind of theories, let's say, which allow strategies to be developed for making these international cooperations go beyond just coordination and actually evolve into collaborations. Without that, we are in trouble, right? Forget 1.5 or 2. Even for 4 degrees centigrade, many of the countries are woefully inadequate in their actions already.